They didn't just leave me when I was down, they laughed. My own family, the people I thought would be there no matter what. And when my ex joined in, making fun of me while I had nothing, they all stood with her. I wasn't just broke, was alone completely. I used to think I was the problem, that maybe I deserved it. But something changed in me when I hit rock bottom. I stopped waiting for anyone to believe in me and started building something in silence. No one noticed until they did. And that's when they all came back, with fake smiles, kind words, and open hands. But this story isn't about revenge. It's about what happens when the people who once mocked you suddenly want a seat at your table, and how you decide after everything whether to let them in, or finally let them go. This is the story of how I was broken, rebuilt, and chose peace over payback. You know, I used to think that family meant unconditional love, that no matter how bad things got, no matter how many times life knocked you down, your family would be the ones to pull you back up. I really believed that, but I learned the hard way that sometimes the people you think will catch you when you fall are the very ones who push you off the edge. It all started when I lost my job, not because I was lazy, or incompetent, or careless. It was just bad timing. The company downsized, and I was one of the names on the list. Just like that, everything changed. At first I tried to hide it. I'd wake up every morning, get dressed, like I was going somewhere, just to keep the illusion going for a while. But eventually, the truth spilled out. Rent was overdue, my fridge was half empty, my phone was filled with rejection emails, and when I finally broke down and told my family what was happening, I thought maybe they'd understand. Maybe they'd offer some support, a kind word, a little help, something. But instead, my mother looked at me like I was a disappointment. She didn't say it, not directly, but her silence was loud enough. My brother joked, "Guess that college degree really paid off, huh?" and laughed like it was the funniest thing in the world. I was already drowning, and they were tossing bricks instead of life vests. And then there was my ex. God, she didn't waste a second before getting involved. We had only broken up a few months before I lost everything. It wasn't a bitter breakup, or so I thought, just a people drifting apart. But when she found out about my situation, she started hanging around my sister more, posting things online, little jabs that only someone close to me would know were about me. Some people peak in college. If you can't keep a job, maybe the problem's you. Thank God I dodged that bullet. And the worst part, my family was laughing along, sharing the posts, dropping comments. Even my aunt sent me a screenshot once and said, "She's funny, but she's got a point." Funny, that's what they called it. I remember sitting in my room, lights off, phone in hand, just scrolling, watching them turn me into a joke. The same people I grew up with, people I celebrated birthdays with, cried with, made memories with, and now I was just The punchline, I didn't even feel angry at first, just empty, like I didn't matter to anyone, like I was invisible unless I was failing. And trust me, I failed in silence. I didn't lash out, I didn't scream, I just withdrew. I stopped calling, stopped replying. I went ghost. There was this one night, I hadn't eaten all day. I had about $7 to my name, and I stood in front of a vending machine at the gas station, trying to figure out what would fill me up the most, and I just started crying, right there, in public, like a little kid. That's when I realized no one was coming to save me, not my family, not my ex, not some lucky break, it was just me alone. But maybe that's what I needed, because that night, something inside me snapped. Not in a destructive way, but in a way that finally woke me up. I thought, if they're going to laugh while I'm at my lowest, then they don't deserve to stand next to me when I rise. And I swore to myself right then I was going to make it no matter what, no matter how long it took. Even if I had to build everything from scratch, I wasn't going to stay broken. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of being right, so I stopped crying. I went home, and the very next morning I started over. But trust me, this isn't a story about overnight success. I didn't suddenly win the lottery or land some dream job. It was slow, painful, lonely, but every single step I took from that moment forward was mine, and they had no idea what was coming. Not yet. The hardest part wasn't losing my job. It wasn't the cold nights with no heat, or the cheap instant noodles for dinner. It wasn't even seeing my ex parade around, throwing little digs online while pretending it wasn't about me. No, the hardest part was realizing my own mother didn't believe in me. I don't think anyone ever forgets the moment they stop being their mother's pride and start becoming a shame. It happened over dinner. I had finally agreed to go to a family gathering. My aunt was hosting some small get-together. I didn't want to go, honestly. I wasn't in the mood to fake smiles and pretend everything was fine, but my cousin begged me, said it'd be good for me to get out, be around people, maybe feel normal for a little while. So I went, and right away I felt it. That tension, the kind that sits in the room like fog. No one said anything outright, but you could see it in their eyes, that looked like they're walking on eggshells, but also secretly waiting to see how far you've fallen since they last saw you. People asked fake nice questions. So, what are you up to these days? still figuring things out. Any leads? Smiles that didn't reach their eyes. Voices laced with judgment wrapped in politeness. I tried to keep it together, just nodded, kept my answers short, tried to avoid eye contact, but then someone brought up my ex. Of course they did. My sister said, you know, she's doing really well now, opened some boutique or something. Crazy how fast some people bounce back, right? And then someone else said it. I don't even remember who. Maybe my uncle, but he muttered, yeah, some people bounce up and some just keep bouncing down. It got quiet for like a second, and that's when my mom laughed. Not a full-on laugh, but that soft, sharp kind that cuts more than a scream ever could. And she said, well, what do you expect? He's always been a little lost, I told him, to be more practical, but he thought the world owed him something. My heart dropped. I sat there, completely still, staring at my plate. Did she really just say that? In front of everyone. She didn't even look at me when she said it. She just took a sip of her tea like she didn't just throw her own son under the bus. And no one said a thing. Not my siblings, not my cousins, they all just let it slide like it was normal, like it was okay. I didn't say a word. I just stood up, quietly grabbed my coat and walked out. I remember walking down the street, my hands shaking, not from the cold, but from something deeper, something raw, something that felt like betrayal, because it's one thing to be mocked by strangers. It's one thing to be ridiculed by an ex who never really knew the real you, but to hear your own mother say that you're a failure, like it's just a casual fact, that broke something in me. The walk home felt like a blur. I kept replaying her words in my head. He's always been a little lost. The world owed him something. I couldn't stop hearing it, over and over again, like it was tattooed on my brain. I don't know what hurt more, the fact that she said it, or the fact that, deep down, a part of me started to believe her. Maybe I was a failure. Maybe I was never going to be anything more than the family screw-up. The guy who had potential once but wasted it. The cautionary tale they whisper about during dinner. For a few days after that, I just shut down, didn't answer texts, didn't check emails. I slept a lot, or at least, I tried. Mostly I just stared at the ceiling, wondering what the hell happened to my life. But then, one night something snapped. I was scrolling through old photos, birthdays, graduations, holidays, and I stopped at this one picture. Me maybe 10 years old, holding a trophy. First place in a science fair. I looked so happy, so proud. My mom had her arms around me, smiling like I was the best thing in the world. I just sat there and stared at that photo for what felt like hours, and I thought, that kid didn't deserve this. That kid had dreams. That kid believed in himself. And if no one else was going to believe in him anymore, then I had to. I had to fight for him, for that little version of me who still thought he could take on the world, because maybe I was lost, but I wasn't done. Not even close. I had started to rebuild, quietly, far away from the noise. I wasn't telling anyone what I was up to. No updates, no social media posts, no family dinners. I was in my own little world, working, learning, growing. Alone but focused. I picked up freelance gigs at first. Small stuff, logo designs, website edits, even late-night customer support for a tech startup overseas. Anything I could get. I didn't care about how glamorous it looked. I just needed the money. And more than that, I needed momentum. Something to make me feel like I wasn't stuck anymore. Eventually, one of those gigs turned into something more. A client liked my work, recommended me to someone else, and before I knew it, I was handling real projects. The kind of work I used to dream about but never thought I'd actually get. But I didn't tell anyone. Not my mom. Not my siblings. Definitely not my ex. I didn't want their approval anymore. I didn't want them cheering for me just because they could finally benefit from it, so I kept my wins private. For months. Then one night, I got a message. It was a random Thursday evening. I had just wrapped up a late Zoom call with a client in New York. I was tired but proud. I just landed a monthly retainer that was more than what I used to make. In a full-time job, I was about to shut everything down when my phone buzzed. It was a DM from my ex. I stared at it for a second. Honestly, I thought it was a mistake at first. We hadn't talked since she and my sister had a good laugh at my expense, back when I was scraping together coins for gas, but there it was. Hey, I know this is unexpected, but I was wondering if we could talk. I didn't answer right away. I just stared at the screen, thinking, what now? Then a second message came in. I'm sorry for how everything went down. I've been hearing about how well you're doing lately, and I just wanted to say congratulations. That stopped me cold. Hearing about how well I was doing. From who? Turns out, word had finally started to travel. One of the companies I worked with featured my name in a newsletter, a small shout-out, but someone in my extended family had seen it, forwarded it around, and suddenly people were curious. That night, my phone didn't stop buzzing. My cousin texted me out of nowhere. My aunt liked one of my old LinkedIn posts. Even my brother sent a message. Yo man, heard you're making big moves. Let's catch up sometime. It was surreal. Just a few months ago, they couldn't even look me in the eye. And now I was inspiring. But the message that hit the hardest came later that weekend. It was from my mom. It wasn't long. Just a simple text. Hey, I know we haven't talked in a while. I just wanted to say I'm proud of you. I really am. I stared at that one the longest, because part of me wanted to be angry, to yell, where was this when I was falling apart? Where was this when I needed you most? But another part of me, maybe the more tired, more healed part, just felt sad that it took success for people to see my worth. Sad that I had to disappear to be respected. I didn't reply right away. I didn't know what to say. Everything inside me was twisted up: relief, anger, validation, grief. It was all there, fighting for space. But what really hit me, what changed everything, wasn't just the messages or the attention. It was what I realized because of them, that I didn't need them anymore. Not in a bitter way, not in a you'll regret this kind of way, but in a peaceful, quiet way. The kind that comes when you finally stop chasing love that's always been conditional. I had spent so long trying to prove myself, trying to earn back respect, trying to make them see me, and now that they finally did, I didn't feel the victory I thought I would. Instead, I felt free because I wasn't doing any of this for them anymore. What is doing it for me? For the boy who stood in front of that vending machine with $7 and tears in his eyes. For the man who sat in silence while his family laughed around the dinner table. For every version of me that kept going when no one believed I could. That message didn't change everything because they finally saw my worth. It changed everything because I finally did. I wish I could say things got easier after that message from my mom, that everything magically healed and we all became some picture-perfect family again. But life's never that neat, is it? After months of silence, they started popping back into my life, one by one, like nothing had ever happened. Like the things they said, the way they treated me, the laughs at my expense. None of it mattered now because I was doing well. It started with my brother. He called out of the blue one afternoon. I let it go to voicemail. I didn't have the energy. Later I listened to the message. His voice was upbeat, casual, like we were best friends who just hadn't talked in a while. Yo bro, I heard you're killing it now. That's awesome, man. Proud of you. Listen, I've got this thing I'm trying to get off the ground. Thought maybe we could partner up. You've got the skills. I've got the ideas. Let's make some money. Proud of me. Now he was proud of me. The same guy who sat at the dinner table and laughed while mom called me lost. The same guy who liked my ex's posts clowning on me. Now suddenly I was his bro. And then came my sister. Hey, she texted. I know we haven't talked, but I miss you. Maybe we could catch up. I could use your help with something work-related. Just an hour of your time. Help, that was the word I kept seeing over and over again, hidden behind their smiles and small talk. Help. They didn't come back for me. They didn't miss me. They missed what I could now offer them. It wasn't long before my mom called again. This time, she sounded softer, almost careful. Was just wondering. She said, if you could take a look at the mortgage situation. Things have been tight lately. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. She didn't say she was sorry. She didn't say she regretted the words she said at that dinner table. She just needed help. From the son who used to be a disappointment. The same one who apparently had always been a little lost. And that's when it really hit me. They didn't come back because they wanted to rebuild trust, or to fix the damage, or even to apologize. They came back because now I was useful. And that realization hurt more than anything they ever said about me. I sat with that feeling for days. Kept trying to convince myself I was overthinking it, that maybe they really did miss me, that maybe success had just opened their eyes, and now they wanted to make things right. But deep down, I knew better. Because love doesn't come with a price tag. Support isn't supposed to be transactional. You don't disappear when they're struggling and show back up when they're shining, pretending like the struggle never happened. There was one night I couldn't sleep. I sat on my balcony, just staring out at the city, thinking about all the nights I used to pray for anyone to believe in me, to see me, and now they finally did. But only because they could benefit. I thought about calling my mom back, telling her I'd help with the mortgage, telling my brother I'd look at his project, meeting my sister for coffee. I thought about it and I almost did it. But then I remembered that kid again. That version of me who stood in the dark, alone, humiliated, unsure of everything. The one they all turned their backs on. The one no one helped, and I couldn't betray him, not now. So I made a decision. I would listen, I would be civil, I wouldn't be cruel or cold, but I wouldn't give them access to the life they never helped me build. I didn't owe them that. Not my time, not my energy, and definitely not my success. Letting go of that guilt wasn't easy. For a long time I thought it was my job to fix everything, to prove myself, to make peace, even if I had to sacrifice myself to do it. But not anymore. They came back, but not for me, and that told me everything I needed to know. I used to dream about the moment I'd get to rub it in their faces. I really did. There were nights I'd lie awake, picturing the look on their faces when they found out I'd made it. When they realized the one they laughed at, doubted, pushed aside was now doing better than any of them ever imagined. I'd rehearse speeches in my head. Dramatic ones, cold ones, the kind that'd leave them stunned and speechless. But when that moment actually came, it looked nothing like I expected. I was invited to a wedding, a cousin on my mom's side. I almost didn't go, but something inside me said it was time. Not for revenge, not to show off, but to see for myself if I was really over it. So I went. I showed up alone. No one by my side, no designer suit, need for a big entrance. Just meekum, grounded, quiet. The second I walked in, I felt it. People turned, whispers started. Some smiled, some looked surprised, and a few looked nervous, like they weren't sure how I'd act. My brother came up first. They gave me a half hug like we were close again. Said, "Man, it's been too long. Heard you're doing great. Proud of you." I nodded. I didn't say much, just smiled and asked how he was doing. That threw him off more than any cold shoulder. With single quotes ve. Then my sister, she was more awkward, gave me this overly sweet smile. Said she was happy to see me. I told her I hoped work was going well. That was it. No sarcasm, no passive-aggressive tone. And then, my mom. She was standing across the room holding a glass, trying to act like she hadn't seen me, but I walked over. I looked her right in the eyes and said, "Hi." She smiled, but it was tight, guarded, like she didn't know which version of me she was about to get. And all I said was, "It's good to see you." And I meant it. Not because I forgot what she said. Not because I was pretending it didn't happen. But because I had let it go. That was the moment I realized I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to prove them wrong anymore. I didn't need to, because nothing they said about me back then defined me now. And nothing they said now could touch the peace I had built on my own. The best part, I didn't need them to understand. I didn't need them to apologize, or explain, or make it right. I had already made it right for myself. After the wedding, a few of them messaged me. Some asked to meet, others sent long texts how proud they were, how they always knew I'd do something big. I didn't reply to most of them, not out of spite, but because I didn't owe them the version of me they never helped create. You know, people think healing is loud, that it looks like dramatic confrontations or big declarations. But sometimes, healing is quiet. It's showing up to the same room that once broke you on, not needing to break anyone back that day. I didn't give them attitude, I gave them peace. Closure, the kind they probably didn't expect, because I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't the same person who cried in the dark, or stared at job rejections, or begged the universe for a break. I was someone new, someone stronger, not because I became successful, but because I found value in myself long before they ever did. There's a power in walking away without burning the bridge, but also never needing to cross it again, and that's exactly what I did. I didn't get revenge, I gave closure, and sometimes that's the most powerful thing you can do.